Welcome to the Backlash at Backlash.com. My name is Rod Van Mechelen, and in this video I'm going to read excerpts from my 1992 article, Nice Guys, Confessions of a Recovering Gynaholic, 1992, Bellevue, Washington. Hello, my name is Rod, and I'm a gynaholic. Well, a recovering gynaholic, actually. More about that later, but first, a few tart confessions. For most of my life, I've craved female attention. Yes, it's true. A real addict, I would do just about anything to feed my habit. Grovel and beg, whine and howl if I thought it would help. I was truly pathetic. The hoops I jumped through, listened for hours to women whine about the jerks they were sleeping with. What a nice guy I was, a typical gynaholic. Then one day a female friend told me that the so-called nice guys who complain because they can't get laid need to stop blaming women for their own inadequacies. Quote, "Just go out and get some," she said, euphemistically. That's what they need to do, close quote. Ironic, isn't it, how when men who truly desire a committed relationship complain because so many women would rather sleep with domineering jerks, it sounds like it's just about sex? There's a simple reason for that. The thing that happens in a committed relationship that doesn't happen in a friendship is sex. Sex is the essential difference between the kinds of relationships women say they want and their relationships with just friend nice guys. That's why when men complain about not being able to get a committed relationship, it comes out as, "I can't get laid." That's also why we get so obsessive about it, why so many of us turn into quivering gynaholics. But is it really all our fault? Aren't women at least partly to blame? Yes, they are. In countless surveys, women say they want committed relationships with nice guys. Yet, when Friday night rolls around, many of these same women party with the bad boys. Tormenting us like that feeds our addiction. It's a power thing. They get off on it. I've commented on this many times when discussing men's issues, and the common response from women is, well, why would you want to have sex with women like that anyway? Why don't you just hang out with a better crowd? I'm never sure how to answer this because the women who say this are usually the same women who do it. It's not like my buddies and I hang out at bars chasing after easy women. We don't go around hitting on floozies. Personally, in fact, most of the women I've known were fellow students or coworkers. Remember, I wrote this a long time ago. And wherever I've gone, from Princeton to the University of Washington to the high-tech software campuses in Redmond, Washington, the vast majority of women, in my experience, all behave the same in this respect. They reserve the nice guys for just friends, sleep with the bad boys, then expect us gynaholics to listen sympathetically when they need someone to cry to about this month's jerk who just dumped me. It's not the rejection we mind so much, but the hypocrisy. Does this mean women should just admit they really aren't interested in sex with nice guys? Sure, if they really mean it and are willing to live with the consequences, millions of men throwing away their copies of The Sensitive Male and turning to Tom Leykis for pickup artist advice. So, ladies, it's time to belly up and to the bar and place your order. Do you want men who will be both your friend and your lover? Or do you want a stud who treats you like dirt? State your preference, but just remember two things. First, none of this women's prerogative crap. Adults aren't wishy-washy, and it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind is nothing but an excuse to be wishy-washy. Second, actions speak louder than words. And so far, what we've been hearing most women say is, "Bad boys make me feel so good." As for my fellow gynaholics, you know who you are. It's time for us to take responsibility for the part we play in this, too. We may be able to hold women responsible for their foibles, but that doesn't let us off the hook. We get some of the blame, too. Nice guys who let just friends use them for emotional support without getting an intimate relationship in return are enabling women to remain addicted to sex with jerks. At an early age, many women become physically addicted to sex with bad boys. The thrill of copulation with dangerous men is like the adrenaline rush associated with skydiving or bungee jumping. But relationships with bad boys tend to be one-dimensional, leaving unfulfilled their need for real sharing, caring communication, and emotional intimacy. That's why they seek out your company to compensate. The problem is, you're not doing these women any favors. By listening and providing encouragement, you only enable them to separate sex from intimacy and remain caught in the spell of their sexual addiction. This means that if you really care, you need to get tough. If you really want to do them a favor, you need to provide a tough love solution. The next time one of your female friends wants to cry on your shoulder, tell you all about how she's been victimized by her current cowboy, get tough. Tell her that her problem is she's separated sex from intimacy, and that until she learns to connect the two, there's nothing you can do. Now, the only problem with this is that in the current anti-male climate, this is likely to be mistaken as a sexual come-on, which will make you vulnerable to charges of sexual harassment. So, to protect yourself, you need to tell her that while you really care for her as a friend, you can't associate with her until she overcomes her harmful addiction. Then ask her to leave you alone. This may seem harsh, but sometimes a tough love solution is the only way you can really help. If you care for her, it may be the best thing you can do, and it will be good for you too. 2012, Olympia, Washington. When I wrote this chapter, I was struggling to come to grips with the ugliness lurking behind the veil of the feminine mystique. Not the one Betty Friedan pretended to write about, and as she admitted toward the end of her life, most of it was a lie, but the side of women men pretend isn't there. Most men pretend isn't there. Most men like to view women as our better half, but there's no such thing. There is only another person, a human being subject to all the faults and foibles that plague us all. Unfortunately, America and much of the rest of the Western culture has become a prison camp for men, a materialistic world of limited opportunities and low horizons where the best you can hope for is a good Friday night buzz, that your Saturday morning hangover won't be too terrible, and good video games to create a virtual world in which men and masculinity are still valued. Most people need myths. Feminists began the process of destroying the myths about women that men need to love them. Cynical hucksters like Joe Francis, founder of the Girls Gone Wild franchise, are finishing what the feminists started. The end result, which I only recently learned about, is called MGTOW, men going their own way. Men in America, oh, there goes the dog upstairs. Men in America and other Western countries are giving up on Western women. But women need not fear they will never find a husband, because demographic trends are developing in the East to create a shortage of women that will drive men from Asia abroad to search for wives. Not that these men will conform to the feminist ideal, far from it. As for the men in the West who are MGTOW, my suggestion to you is to get rich. No, I'm not being snide. In 2011, I added a section about making money to my homepage, with a focus on investing. Years ago, I was a stockbroker at Merrill Lynch. Before I began writing about feminism, father's rights, and men's and women's issues, I wrote about politics and the economy. Not that I have any investing advice to sell. What I give you are links to people who, yes, do have investing advice to sell, but they give away 90% of the information and insights they have, and much of it is very good. Note, as I mentioned in a previous video, my favorites these days are Martin Armstrong, Greg Mannarino, and Gary Savage, and I provide links to their sites in the low bar. Let's face it, most of us aren't geniuses. We're not going to invent the next light bulb, come up with a great new product, or even make it as a shoe salesman. Most of us get stuck in small jobs making just enough money to barely make ends meet. But if you can squeeze even $50 out of your monthly budget, you can invest. This is about you getting rich, but getting rich is about more than having the freedom to buy what you want. It's also about creating the world that you want. Feminists have money from the government. That money was stolen from us through taxes or as inflation. There's nothing any of us can do about that unless we are able to change our government. But if we are rich, then we can use our money to create a culture in which both women and men are respected as human beings. That's all for now. Check out the other videos. Subscribe to the channel for the Backlash at backlash.com. My name is Rod Van Mecklin.